We're going live.
Are we live? I can't see anything.
No, because it'll take a few moments to go through. I think it's about 20 seconds at the moment. Here we go.
Here we go. Oh, I can see. I'm not sure the GoPro's showing very much of me.
Sorry?
I can only see the top half of me. And the half of it. That's better. Hello. Oh, hello, Mark. And good morning from New Zealand and Pennsylvania. Hi. Hello, everybody. And welcome to the last one of the series. Probably not the last live stream I'll ever do by any means, but a bit of an end of term one. So good. I'm glad you can see. And also we thought we would have
and Tasmania.
Yeah, we thought we'd have Mr. B in the film at the moment. So I'm doubtless going to explain this repeatedly, but what we're going to do is we have set some random timers on my phone. We used a sort of random number generator, and these will go off during the live stream, and whoever is up on the screen when the alarm goes off gets the prize. However, there is another prize for the person who is listening at the crappiest time of night. So please put your time it is with you and where you are if you're not in the UK, because we're going to pick the person who's stayed up latest or got up earliest to watch this for a special prize which we'll announce at the end. Don't worry if you're in the UK, don't go in for that one, but we'll remind everyone of that as the show goes on.
But there'll be prizes for
There will be prizes for there'll be random prizes and a prize for the person who stayed up late or got up earliest. So hello to everybody, and thank you very much for joining me at the end of the series and also for watching the whole series. So tonight I've got a couple of bits and pieces to talk about. I want to talk to you about some new prints that I'm planning, and also I'm going to be preparing some lino. So going back to lino, so I just want to talk to you a little bit about getting ready for the next print series that I'm going to work on, and I'll be doing that. And what have we got? Oh yes, Sylvia talks about taking your time as being a good thing. Yeah, really important that, and it took me a long time to learn that myself. So I wasn't great at taking my time to begin with, but I'm a bit better now. So the prints that I want to talk to you about at the moment are a couple that I am doing of Doris, because I thought it would be quite fun to do a couple of multi-block lino cuts. Let me just see if I can get myself a piece of board here to hold up so you can see. That's better. So I have a couple of sketches to show you. So let's hold that one up. There's about a 20-second delay, so I have to... hi George from Seattle, and hello David. And Marion. And
thank you, George, for your comments about...
That's the first one, which is Doris
about
basically tearing
our
up
influence.
my paper. Okay.
If you want to put stuff up
That's
there,
fine.
I can...
That's fine. Okay, we've got a long delay tonight, so apologies if this seems a bit jerky. And here is the other one, again of Doris. Hello Christine, and hi Annette. So these are both sketches that I've done of Doris in the studio, and the reason I've chosen them is that I saw some images in a book that I really like called, let's grab it, really heavy book. So I really love this. This is a sort of book of woodblock prints. And I was very taken with these pictures in here of lions and tigers, And so...
Do you want me to do that?
No, don't worry, it's fine. It's fine. Got it. And so I thought I'd quite like to do some lino cuts of Doris that were kind of with this sort of vibe to them. And one of the things that I really like is the fur on this lion. So I'm going to have a play with that. Oh, Alice, I think you're a contender for the latest time up. So I'm going to start working on these prints soon. Hi Jenny from Australia. And I'm going to work in 4 blocks for these, so I'll be preparing 4 lino blocks for each print. And one of the other things I wanted to show you was the effect that moisture has on tracing paper. In the series, the recent Woodblock series, I talked a lot about using plastic tracing film, stuff called Polydraw, this stuff here, and the importance of it because it doesn't warp or cockle when it gets wet. And I did some tracings onto ordinary tracing paper, and I just wanted to show you how, can you see how bent, those have just been sat on the shelf in my studio, which is not particularly damp, but I don't know if you can see, but they've gone all wavy and bendy, so they're no good to me to do transfers onto the lino from. So I have retraced onto Polydraw, and this one you can see is lovely and flat. So yeah, Kevin, it's a great book, that book. I really like it. Full of useful stuff. Hi Esther from Los Angeles. And oh, thank you George, for Polydraw is called Duralar in America. So that's one to remember, but I really recommend using plastic tracing film for doing your tracings and not ordinary tracing paper because of this. Because you'll have noticed in the Woodblock series that I was constantly referring to that tracing throughout the whole process of making the print. So it wasn't like I made a tracing and then transferred it and then that was the end of it. There's constant toing and froing, and the more stable your tracing paper or your tracing film, the less likely there are to be problems. And that's really important if you're doing a multi-block print, so that you get everything to line up. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing to work with. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about, and I forgot to pick up, I'm going to get Ben to look for it, are the difference between Polydraw and mylar. Can you find me one of the birch blocks, the poplar blocks that you made? Yeah, let me get some mylar and I'll show you the difference. Okay. So Polydraw is like tracing paper, so it looks just like tracing paper and it behaves just like tracing paper. And mylar is like plastic, so it's you can see that I've drawn onto, good afternoon Maria, you can see that I've drawn with pencil onto this, and then the mylar I can't draw on at all. But this stuff, as I showed in the Woodblock Woodblock series, is brilliant if you want to mask off an area either of a lino cut or a woodblock when you're printing. And all I do, you can see in here actually, funnily enough, I've got an assortment of like different size bits, and all I do is to put a little hinge on, and then I can ink up my block, and then down comes the mylar. It goes in the press, and it doesn't mark. And the same goes when I'm printing with a woodblock. So mylar is fantastic stuff. Comes in all sorts of different weights. I can't tell you what this stuff is. It's fairly thin, and it's really useful for masking off. I know Hand Printed are stocking it now, and you can get it. You can get it on the internet quite easily as well, I think. It's not expensive, and it's useful for masking things off, and also for if you've got a block and you're worried another bit of the block will emboss. You can also use it to stop things embossing. So hi Deborah, hi from your studio. You're in your studio, excellent. That's what I like to hear. The other thing I just wanted to show you is that Ben's been making me some plywood for my pledge prints that I've been doing. And this is poplar, and these are side grain poplar. And Rona says that she uses drafting film for screen print separations. And graphics, Deborah says that graphics make a matte stencil film, so you know there are other options out there which sound pretty good. So Ben has been making me plywood, and what he's done is he's got this poplar, side grain poplar, and he's sandwiched it together with some birch ply.
I think it may have been Asian ply.
Oh, Asian ply. It was dodgy Asian ply. I had some dodgy Asian ply with seams all over it, so we used that to stick them together to stabilise the poplar. Jen wants to know if I hold on to my previous tracings or do you recycle them. I have some of them, and some of them I do recycle. Some of them I use, like the I was showing you with the mylar, just to blank areas out and stuff like that. Not so much now. I've got plenty of mylar in the studio, but I do tend to hang on to them. I'm not quite sure why. I don't really use them for anything. They just sort of sit there, and periodically I throw them all out. So I should just update everyone. If you have joined since the beginning, we are giving out, we've set a whole load of random alarms on my phone, and when the alarm goes off, the person who's on the screen gets a print. So I've got 5 prints to give like that, and we have a special award for the person who is up at the most horrible time of night. So if you are tuning in from far away, do say your time and where you are, and whoever's closest to 3:30 in the morning, which I think is probably about the crappiest time of night to be up, will get a prize, will get a print. So we'll do that throughout, and I've got my brother-in-law is keeping time for that. So that's the other thing that I have to say about the poplar. I think there are 6 faces in all for this, so I had 6 bits of poplar, and it is a bit variable. So I wasn't entirely happy with it. It's much nicer to cut than the Sheena ply. It's but it is a little bit variable.
Patsy Jones is asking what we've used to stick it all together with.
Sorry, I can't see the question.
You can, love.
I missed it. I've missed it.
What was it stuck together with? It was PVA.
So PVA glue, but you need to clamp it. And how long did you leave it?
A couple of days.
Yeah. And why have I chosen poplar? Well, because I had it. Oh, sorry, George, it's noon in Seattle. Yeah, that's not really a crappy time to be watching. Yeah, because I had the poplar. I mean, I really like cutting poplar. It's quite crisp to cut, and it's also still easy to cut. It's not as tricky as the cherry. You're tapping. Yeah, the cherry that Will Francis uses to cut. If you were here with the live stream with Will, he was cutting cherry, which is trickier. So poplar's kind of an intermediary between Sheena and Cherry as far as I'm concerned. So I already had these poplar blocks which I bought in an enthusiastic moment, and then I couldn't use them because they were solid wood and they kept cupping and bowing, because once you sort of wet them to print then they would bow, and so I just abandoned them, and I had all these blocks sitting at the back of the studio. Oh! So that's Sarah.
Yep.
So, I've put that on snooze, I should have stopped. So, Sarah Schultz.
Oh, didn't snooze it, did you?
Yep, Sarah Schultz, you are a winner. You have won the first prize. So, you get little print. So, what I need you to do, Sarah, is to send me your postal address. So, please can you email me at laura@lauraboswell.co.uk with your postal address, and I will send a print to you in California. So that one is winging its way. Can we make a note of that? So that one is winging its way to Sarah in California. And yeah. So that's cool. Simon says, whatever drafting film you use, it shouldn't be too thick because you're using it for drawing through with carbon paper. Good point. So the drafting film that I'm using is 050 double matte. So I don't know if 05 is microns. Microns, is it, do you think? We don't know. We don't know, but it's quite flimsy. It feels like ordinary tracing paper. Okay. Good. Oh, I'm glad, Sarah, you're excited. No, I don't think about cloning Mr. B. I'm not sure that would be a good idea.
Jenny doing quite well. 5:40 in the morning.
5:40 in the morning, Jenny. That's heroic to be up at that time in the morning. So, oh.
Alice wants me to be cloned.
Yeah, that's not going to be possible. That's a horrific thought. Yeah, so the as I was saying, the poplar, it's a bit variable. We're not, they just happen to be blocks that I had. I think if we went out to buy poplar, we'd be a lot more careful, but we're not experts, or at least I'm certainly not expert in choosing timber. I don't know how good you are at it. But Will and his father, who are going to go into making wood, because they're carpenters, they really understand how to select the best boards to use. So, you know, this has been a great experiment, and I certainly would go over to using poplar, but I'd like to know that the wood was going to be a little bit better and less sort of random when I was choosing it. So that's what I've been using, and that's what I was using to print the pledge prints. So this is the block for the background and the tree of the owl, and that's the print I was working on with that. So yeah, the poplar, the side grain poplar, well now I bought this from Intaglio, but I wouldn't suggest that, simply because this is like you can only buy it this is the biggest size they sell, and it's intended as a fine art material, and I reckon you might do better just buying planks.
I think we should comment that Alice's carving bench was much more exciting when it was a craving bench.
A craving bench, yeah. I know, I haven't got one of those. That sounds brilliant. I'm just looking at settings here because I have a horrible feeling that I've set the oh no, that's okay. It's fine. I just wanted to make sure that the alarm thing was just working.
Christine wanted to know who did the book.
Oh right, okay. It's let's have a look. Taschen,
is the publisher.
Taschen is the publisher, and I'm just having a look inside to see if we've got any more details. You can get it on Amazon if you don't mind using Amazon. It's called Art for All. It's called Art for All, the colour woodcut in Vienna around 1900. And it's got the most amazing pictures in. I was just looking to see if I can find an ISBN. Okay. And I have, oops, let's put that safe out of the way. Sorry, I had a question here. Will Francis Dad be selling the wood? I think they have plans to. Yeah, absolutely they do. So they will be selling wood blocks. I know at the moment they're just making prototypes and some cherry blocks for Will to carve, but I think they're trying to sort out the best source of wood, because as I say, it's kind of frustrating when you have one block that is beautiful and the next block's got maybe big pores in the wood or something like that. Yeah, Axminster, that's true.
Jen Lewis is asking whether or not we've ever resurfaced a thicker block and carved it again, and that's not something we've ever done.
No, but you can do it, and I do have one. I have a cherry block that I use to show people what a traditional Japanese woodblock would have looked like, and that began life as a proper Japanese woodblock. And then it was given to me after it had been planed down and smoothed over and reconditioned. So the piece of wood is about 150 years old and it's had a sort of second life. So you certainly can do that. Will I be doing any exhibitions down in the south of the UK? I have one that I'm really got every finger crossed is still going to go ahead in Stroud in Gloucestershire. I'm not sure about down south. There was some talk about them redoing the print show that we had at Whitstable, so it's conceivable that that might happen again down at Whitstable, which is the Horseshoe or something.
Sorry?
The gallery at Whitstable, the Horse Barn or something. It's got a sort of odd name, the Whitstable Gallery, and I can't remember what it's called. But that's conceivable. Horsebridge, is it Horsebridge Gallery? Something like that.
Yeah.
Horsebridge Arts Centre in Whitstable's conceivable. So the book is called Art for All, and it's Art for All, the colour woodblock, the colour woodcut in Vienna around 1900 is the book.
Glenys asked why I put poplar on both sides of the block, and that was to stop it cupping.
Yeah, it stops it because when you're printing and you have to wet it, if it's just on its own as a solid block of wood, it goes curly. But I would say that, you know, if you buy it like this from Intaglio, then it's quite an expensive piece of wood. So I would almost be tempted to go to a timber yard and see if they had any poplar planks, would you say? Poplar planks from a timber yard?
I don't know. We haven't really looked into it yet, but we should be able to.
Thank you, Jenny Kay, who's put the Amazon, the ISBN number up for the book on the talk, so it's up there now.
The only problem with buying poplar from a timber yard is it's not usually finished very well.
Okay. Yes, it is Horsebridge that I'm thinking of. Right, so Jenny is saying, I'm interested in knowing your thinking behind using the final lino layer rather than reusing the block for further impressions. So this is the woodblock print that I've been working on in the series, which had this final layer of lino. The final layer of lino is actually a completely different shape from the woodblock layer. It has a lot more detail in it. So the woodblock, the fine cut woodblock layer is basically giving sort of outlines of all of the stones in the picture. the lino layer is doing the shadows at the bottom of the stones and in between the stones. So it's actually doing a different job. It's actually adding detail and depth. So if I just used the woodblock to print darker, then it would just outline everything darker instead of having an outline with a darker shadow at the base of it. So the lino's giving sort of extra dimension.
Jim thinks I should own a Harley.
A Harley? That sounds like
I think
a really,
it's something
really
to do with the beard,
bad idea.
the facial hair.
Oliver Almond wood? I don't know. I'm not a wood expert. I don't know whether Oliver Almond would work.
I don't know enough about those, I'm afraid.
Yeah, hi Jim. Hi Jim. Our son Jim is watching. We're very, very honoured when Jim watches. That's very nice. Thank you for watching. So what I would say, oh right, the last block, the lino block on the wood block, it was printed last. Yeah, I would always do the lino layer the last thing. Just trying to think if that's true or not. Yeah, I would be a bit concerned because the rest of the print is in watercolour. Even if you were printing the lino block with water-based ink, I would be a bit concerned that it would actually interfere with the way that the watercolour paint went down onto the paper. You might get a bit of a resist or something. I mean, it might be worth experimenting with. Oh! Who are we? Denise! Denise Inks! Denise, you have won. What have we got for Denise? Woo! Stop. Right, Denise, congratulations. You are the winner of the Windfall, Lady Picking Apples. So, Denise, I need you to send me your postal address to Laura at lauraboswell.co.uk and we will wrap up your print and send it to you. Fantastic. Right. Yeah, no, Alice, don't encourage Ben to have a Harley Davidson because he would love it. He would absolutely adore it. Let me just put these somewhere safe. Well out of the way of the liner ink. That would be a bad thing. Where are we going? Oh, Kitty's got a Harley. That's very impressive. Oh no, but not a Harley.
I would kill myself immediately.
Yes, no, we would not like that. So that's the woodblock that I've been using, and if I just pop that over there, can I just say, quick advert, which is very shameless of me, I know, but these two pledge prints that I'm selling at the moment are now in the shop. So on my website, at lauraboswell.co.uk. The shop is now open with these in it for business. So if you fancy one of those, they cost £35 each and I can ship anywhere in the world. So that's end of advertising. Let's put those out of the way. But they are now available. So, okay. Have I got any future plans for sharing videos? Yeah, I'm going to share these funny prints of Doris that I'm going to do, these multi-block prints, because I thought that would be quite fun to show you. I'm not going to do like big series like I have been doing, mainly because we are going to go into teaching next year. I'm going to start looking at teaching online. So I'm going to be delivering lessons. So that'll take up time. But we certainly will still be posting, sharing videos about work, and I certainly would like to do the occasional live stream and stuff like that. So we'll be doing that still. It's just that these like massive 3 videos a week series or every day or whatever, we won't do that anymore because we've kind of come to the end of the crowdfunding now, so we need to change things around a bit. Oh, thank you, Kitty. You've got the bird and the persimmons. Excellent. Good. So yeah, we're going to do some films, but we're also going to do a film of me editioning the woodblock that I've just done in the Woodblock with Laura series. So we'll film the editioning of that. I don't know if any Roseanne, see you next time. I don't know if any of you have caught me live streaming on Instagram, but I quite like doing that. That's been quite fun, where I just was filming me printing the pledge prints. So I was doing a lot of editioning and I just put it on live stream. So that's quite nice. So I'll certainly be doing that. Yeah, I will advertise that on your website. I'm going to do Lino and Woodblock I'm planning to teach, but I thought it would be really interesting to do a course on kind of gathering material and organising it for print and how you break things up into different layers and stuff like that. So a sort of designery, preparation-y sort of series. I don't want sort of anything that's too prescriptive, because as you know, I never ever stick to any kind of plan, but I would like to help people who are maybe setting out to make prints for the first time to think about some of the things that they might want to ask themselves when they're designing a print. So yeah, I'm thinking of that. No, Paula, you won't have to watch them over and over again. I promise you that now that Ben has invested in the kit and got the bug for filming, there will be more, won't there? We're going to make some more films.
We will, yes.
So the Lino book that I'm writing will be... I'm not quite sure. It's going to be a long time, because I still have several months left to write it, because one of the things that I've wanted to do in it is to have sets of prints where the subject matter is sort of the same and I treat it in different ways so people can see different approaches. And I've got to design all those prints, we've got to photograph them all and sort all that out. And then there's always a long period while the publisher checks it over and they proofread it, and there's endless toing and froing. So it'll be a while yet. So where are we? Yeah, I will post the dates of classes. I promise you, I will shout out about them.
But that is still in very early stages.
That's still in early stages
of planning.
I'm just sorry, everyone watching me just reading here. I'm just trying to. Yeah, I think the whole idea of teaching online, I was a bit wary about it to begin with, because I like, being very face to face with people. But I've been talking it through with Peter Keegan, who I do the podcast with. He's my co-host on Ask an Artist podcast. And he and I are sort of cooking up ideas for lessons for next year. So we'll probably do a sort of model where there's a teaching video and then there's a get together, so you can watch the video as many times as you like, and then you can we'll all meet up, and then I can teach everyone face to face. So we'll be working on that kind of model. And I'm also hoping that I'll get back to teaching in person as well. So let me just move those out of the way. I just want to talk about, I'm glad you like the podcast. So I've got a question from Christine, who wants to know about the Hangito knife. How deep do you have to cut with it? I'm just looking around for mine. I don't know where I put my toolbox, so let me grab the knife. Hang on a moment. So the Hangito is the knife that cuts the outline on a wood block. Just move this out of the way. So this is the knife we're talking about here, that you hold in your fist. This is the one where you need to cut the top to fit your hand. So you're only looking at going in about, what, a couple of millimeters. It's the tip of the blade. So actually this one's been sharpened so that it'll only cut straight lines, so that's not a brilliant one to show you. Let me show you that. That's a better one. So you're only dealing with the very tip of the tool, and it's going in about 2 mil to make the cut. So that's that one also. So the other thing I wanted to show you, don't forget if you are signing in from a long way away to tell us what time it is with you and where you are, because we have got a prize at the end for the person who is the most heroically staying up late or getting up early to watch. So do keep telling us about that.
Hangitos with Lino.
You can use it with Lino. It's a lovely precise tool. You know, I would, if you can do. Oh, and thank you, Dan. Oh, well done. We have David Clack. So David, you need to send me your name and address to laura@lauraboswell.co.uk, and you have won yourself a lino cut. So we will be sending that to you. So I think we've got a couple of prints to go. Right, I've got confused now. Somebody was saying back, there's a special offer on printmaking. Where's that? Jackson's, yeah, they're having a special offer on printmaking.
Until the 16th, apparently.
Yeah, until the 16th. So if you need printmaking supplies, then have a look at what Jackson's are offering. And of course, I hope you will all be ordering the special sketchbook, the special, actually I don't think it's a sketchbook, a paper pad with my print on it. But,
Alice wants to know how a hangito is spelt. It's Hangito.
There are loads of ways of spelling it, but yes, that's yeah, George has put it up there. Best width, I wouldn't go small, I would go for your first hangito. Let's see, I would say, what's that? That's about
4.5 mil, I think.
Yeah, about 4 mil. They do, I haven't got one of the thicker ones. I think they do a sort of 6 mil. I think that's too thick. But I would not go for, I wouldn't go for the fine one to begin with, because, and actually looking at it, this one's got the end knocked off it. That's what, my tools are awaiting attention at the moment. It's really easy to take the tip off the little one, so I would go for the 4 mil ones. So I don't know. I haven't found out what pad. So I won for those of you who are not in the loop about my famous pad, I won a competition with Lawrence Art Shop Hove, and they are using one of my lino cuts on the cover of a pad of paper, but I have been unable to establish what paper this pad is made of. So it may not be anything very glamorous, or it may be some wonderful print paper. I really don't know until I get it. Yeah, Will is recommending that. Oh, that's a relief. So yeah, it's Art Shop Hove. I think they go under on Instagram, but it's Lawrence's. Yeah. Okay. Just having a check. Yeah, delivery is a bit of a problem at the moment for people ordering from Japan. I've just ordered some paper from Japan, and it's on its way, but it's going to take a while, because I know that they've got problems at the moment. So the lino, I was just going to do a bit of lino staining so that you could see this in action. So here's one I stained earlier in true
Blue Peter.
Very Blue Peter, yeah. For those of you abroad, the Blue Peter is a very long-running programme for children in the UK, and they make things, and they've always done something earlier to show.
Alice once was not after the name of a hangito, she was after the name of a kiridashi.
Kiridashi, I love the kiridashi. This is a kiridashi. This is so, I mean, you should just, like, you guys should all have one, just because they are so, what's the word?
Illegal.
Badass. They are brilliant. They're so evil. They're not even very expensive. We bought one. We bought this one on the internet. I think they cost about 16 quid, something like that.
Oh, all sorts of prices.
Yeah, they come in all sorts of prices. This is not an expensive
all kinds of qualities.
one. But yeah, it's probably not a good idea to go about carrying that one. But I love it to bits. It's really good for cutting washi paper because you can get it really low to the paper, and with the washi with the long fibres, if you try cutting it with a box cutter, a Stanley knife, it kind of rips the fibres. Whereas a kiridashi, you can get really low and it doesn't tear the fibres. So yeah, it's really good one to have. So I keep that. Very satisfying. So I've cut my lino here just by literally just giving it a light score with a box cutter and then snapping it and then just cutting the hessian at the back to cut it. So I figure that for these two prints, so let me find the prints again to show you here. So for these two prints of Doris, one where she is asleep and the other where she's basically tearing up my artwork, I think I can do it in 4 colours. So I am going to do 4 plates, but one of the colours is going to be a transparent grey, which is going to do shadows.
David Clack wants to know if we use sticky back plastic as well.
Oh!
I think this is a Blue Peter reference here.
No, I haven't used sticky back plastic, but I do sometimes get an adult to help me with the cutting. Because Ben cuts my paper for me.
Jenny's curious to know if rotary cutters work for washi paper.
I don't know.
They probably would. But
I would think so. I should think if they're sharp enough. Yeah, I've never managed with rotary cutters. They always sort of scoot off at funny angles with me. Because I had one for doing dressmaking and I couldn't make it work, so I gave up on it. Have I ever been tempted to carve my own handcoat? No, I haven't. I think Will Francis has, and the handcoat, the stamp, the name stamp.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and I know my mate Andrew Stone has, but I've never done that. I think that one of my problems with it is that my name in Japanese is really boring. It's a really ugly character. So I've just thought, no, I'm not even going to go there. So I'm going to show you staining. So the reason I stain the lino is because my eyesight's pretty rubbish these days and I need all the help I can get. So if I put a stain on it, I can see when I cut it where I'm cutting, and that with fine cutting is really helpful. So I've got some very horrible old pink ink here, and I don't often use it for actually doing prints with, but it's brilliant for staining. And this is traditional oil-based ink. I tend to use traditional oil-based ink to stain the lino rather than the Caligo safety wash inks, because they're not as stable. What you want with a stain is it to go on the lino and just stay there. What you don't want is it printing off onto any of your prints. So what I do is I mix it up, and I've mixed it with white spirit here. So I've made up a mixture that is about, I guess it's 1/8 ink and 7/8 white spirit.
Big buffered.
Oh, are we back in the room?
No,
we're back in the room. Yep. Sorry, we buffered there. Yeah, I should do a print with Betty on it, but she's really, my other cat, Black Betty, is very elusive. She's sort of never there, so I've had trouble drawing her because she doesn't really like sitting still and being in company. So I may have to wait till she's asleep or something before I draw her. So yeah, so I've got this ink with white spirit to stain the lino. So just with a rag. So I do this and just rub it on all over. I've obviously diluted it a bit more than I did for this one. And then the trick is to leave it to set. I usually leave it overnight, but before I print with it, I will give the whole thing another wipe of white spirit to make sure that any excess is taken off. And I really find that helps me to see what I'm doing with it. So I'm just going to rub that on and leave it. And I tend to do that before I use the carbon paper. So it's stained and then I have to use carbon paper to transfer. So that's the staining bit of it.
We've got a few questions about the staining stuff. Acrylic paint?
I wouldn't.
No experience, really.
The reason I use lino ink is because I know that once I've let it dry, so that it's nice and dry, and I've cleaned it again with white spirit, it will not transfer onto the lino. And
we've got oil-based paint as well, rather than lino ink.
I don't know, you'd have to experiment with that. I mean, I think it's always worth experimenting with things. I mean, I certainly run tests if I change any materials so that I don't get caught out. The other thing is that if you are getting a bit of transfer onto your lino, you could always do some trash prints until things stop transferring, because I know with water-based inks you can get transfer sometimes.
Christine's got problems with ink lines bleeding.
Ink lines bleeding. So is that when you've cut a fine, is the ink line the ink that you've drawn onto the lino, or is it the fine line that you've cut and inked up bleeding when you print it? Tell me which one it is and I will see if I can figure out. Yeah, Betty and Doris, they're very fond of each other. They do a lot of sort of fighting, but it's very much play fighting. No, they are very fond of each other.
Do you sand the lino before you put the stain on?
I do. I sand it before I stain it, and I sand it with a cheap like foam sanding block, which I get from, there used to be a stall in the market that sold them. Obviously you can't go down there at the moment, but fine sandpaper or wet dry sandpaper, something like that, and just a fine sanding and then the staining. No, the pink stain doesn't interfere with the colour decision because I choose the colours on paper. I use paper and put dabs of colour down. So by the time I'm inking up, normally the inking that I'm doing is so transparent that it doesn't even show, you know, you can't really see what's going on anyway at the best of times, even without the stain, so it doesn't really make any difference to me. Do you need to stain? No, you don't need to stain. It's not compulsory at all. It's just because my eyesight's rubbish and I find that the contrast helps me to see where I'm cutting, but there's no need to do it. You don't have to do it. The best colour for a staining. I like this horrible pink because it's a very clear contrast and I know this ink dries and it doesn't transfer. I think it's personal choice really, but I would really check that the ink you're using doesn't transfer, because some of the inks, when you stain with them, either they just come off again when you clean with white spirit that second time to make sure all the excess is gone. They either come off again, or I guess there's a danger that they will transfer. I spoke to the technician at Cranfield about this, and he said that, you know, all the inks are different, because of course they have different pigments and they behave in different ways. And the traditional oil colour, they don't use like a standard linseed oil when they're making them up. Each colour has linseed oil that's combined with it and has different properties to combine with that set of pigments to make sure that it flows and it's correct. So they behave in slightly different ways. The Caligo inks all have the same linseed, as far as I understand, because it has been treated in a way that makes it washable with water. But I would not use calico to stain my lino, because I would worry it would wash off or transfer. So
Angie Hatchett would like a demo on cutting animal fur.
yeah, well, we will get around to that, because I do have that to face.
Amanda A, good water-based ink and paper.
Sorry, what are we asking? Good water-based, a good water-based ink, please. Yeah, I would say the one that I use is Lucas ink. That's the one that I teach with, and that is a really good, affordable ink. That's a good one to use. I really love Graphic Chemical water-based inks that come in tins. I think they come in tubes too, but the supply is a bit up and down. You know, sometimes they're available and sometimes they're not. But they are a really good ink. And as for paper, if you are hand printing, then I would really recommend that for good prints you go down the route of maybe using a Japanese washi paper with the long fibres, because they're really durable for doing lots of layers and they take the ink really well. If you want a budget option, then I'm in a bit of a quandary, because I used to use a paper called Simili paper, Simili paper from Great Art, and the one that I use they've discontinued, so I am still on the hunt for a sort of budget paper. Oh, we're going to have to go. I'm going to snooze it, because Denise cannot be given 2 prints. I'm sorry, Denise, but I'm going to have to snooze that.
Go back one.
And we'll let it go. It'll go off again shortly. So, where are we? Yeah. Somebody was asking me. Somebody was asking me about the magnifying things that I use. So I use these, which are called Optivisor, and they suit me because I wear glasses and it's pretty comfortable. And as you can see, if I model it, which is yeah, you're too lucky, Denise, that's the trouble. And you can see it fits down in front of my glasses and it's very comfortable. You have to choose which lens you want, and basically what you need to do is to sit at your work and measure the distance between your eyes and the work, and that's the distance, and then you can work out which lens you want to go with it. So it's a little bit faffy, but they're really, really good. So to go back to the paper, the Hosho pads are good for working with, and I think we've featured those on a different bit. I'm going to hand over. David has asked if you've got any advice for registering lino on an intaglio press. I haven't any experience of that. Ben might
clearly needs one of my registration devices.
Hang on a moment, I'm just going to get some paper to show you. So, creep is the problem with that.
The registering using an intaglio press, the only thing you need to be really careful about is that you don't have too much pressure pushing the paper, because the paper can be pushed across the surface of the lino, and if that happens, obviously it ruins the print.
I've lost it. I'm sorry, I was going to show you the Hosho pad and I can't find it. Right, okay, I was going to show you this reconditioned cherry pad, but cherry block. Yasmin cut a line with the Hangito, so just bear with me a second. I won't use that one, so that's a bit special. Thank Okay, so the Hangito, when you buy it, sorry, I'm spoiled for choice here. Finding one that I like. Here we go. So when you buy your Hangito, what you need to do is to maybe cut it, because what it needs to do is to fit into your hand, depending if you're right-handed or left-handed. It fits into your hand. Your thumb should be comfortably on the top of it, and it cuts on the pull towards you. So if I draw a line here on my woodblock to follow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using my left hand, because I'm right-handed, to go on, sit on the back of the blade, and I'm going to cut towards me to cut, and I am just using the tip of the blade, and I'm going in about 2 mil. So I haven't got a cutting mat here, but I'll do it without. So I'm just going to go into the wood and make my cut. And if I were cutting round the block, I would then want to isolate that cut. So what I would do is come back the other way. And that would release a sliver of wood to make my cut, so along the edge of the block.
While you're doing that, Esther Barr is asking for suggestions for dealing with hardened lino other than heat, and I think the simple one is to buy fresh lino.
Yeah. If you've bought lino and it's not flexible at room temperature, what's happened is that the linseed oil in it has hardened, and you can't redeem that. You can't soften the linseed oil up. It's had it basically when that's happened. It's perished. So your lino should be sort of flexible at room temperature, and fresh lino is lovely. It sort of smells of linseed. It's a bit cold in the studio at the moment, so this isn't as flexible as it should be. But basically, if it's not flexible in a warm room, then it's going to be a nightmare to cut, I would say. Yeah, you certainly do need to take the length off the Hangito so that it sits comfortably in your hand. The Hosho paper is, yeah, George, I wouldn't use that Hosho pad paper to print Japanese woodblock with. I would use it for lino cut. I really like it for lino cut, but I don't really like it for Japanese woodblock printing. It seems a bit sort of floppy and flimsy somehow. And that's just that Hosho pad, not Hosho paper in general. It's just that particular pad I've not had great. How many prints can a lino cut do in a print run? Do they crumble? Okay, so lino, once you've cut it, it doesn't matter if it hardens. I've printed lino that was cut in the 1950s. I printed a print from the 1950s, no problem to print at all. You can get, it depends what pressure you're putting on the lino and how fine the lines are. Oh, there we go. So Kevin, you are the lucky winner. So Kevin Mears, you have won. Let me find it. You've won the old boy walking his dog. So you need to mail me, Kevin, at lauraboswell.co.uk and give me your postal address, and that will be winging its way to you. Well done. So we have, let me just do a little count. We have one more random print to give away, and then we have the prize for the person who is up at the worst time of night to watch this. So don't forget, if you are a long way away, do post your time. Can I just talk
to Deborah Stratford for a moment?
Right, okay.
Deborah, you've asked about using my registration device in a etching press. And I sell loads of them to be used in etching presses. You just need to raise the roller so that it's above about 9 millimeters. Needs to be about 10, 11 millimeters. And once you've done that, the device works fine. You have to raise the lino surface by putting something underneath the insert, but it works okay. In fact, better than okay. It works really well.
Right. So Ray says that my channel's on during her child's nap time, and it sends her to sleep, which is good because that's always useful. And has trained the 3-year-old to whisper. So I feel that my job is done in that case. Yeah, so Christine, you use waterproof drawing ink. Ah, my goodness. Here we go.
Oh, that's the fourth. It's the fifth one and the fourth one because you snoozed it.
Right, okay. So we have Kitty.
Kitty Masucha.
Yeah, Kitty, we haven't had you before, have we? So you are the last lucky random winner, and you will get my print, funnily enough, on Japanese washi, and that's a lino cut, so that's going to be winging its way to you. And so you need to send me your postal address to laura@lauraboswell.co.uk, and we will send that to you. So to go back to Christine Riders, you use waterproof drawing ink on the lino and it still bleeds. That's possibly because of the ink you're using. If you use Indian ink and oil-based ink, the Indian ink drawing on the lino, yeah, Kitty, well done. The Indian ink on lino will not transfer or bleed if you used oil-based inks.
Yes, Denise, that's fine.
If you use water-based inks and Indian ink, then yeah, it will bleed. And I suspect that's true of waterproof drawing ink as well, because there's something to do with the water-based printing ink that seems to make waterproof inks bleed. So I wouldn't use it if you're using water-based ink. So when do you do I use multiple light sources when you carve? I do. I have this magnificent lamp here that I will show you, that was made by Mr. B. This is really classy. This is a sight light which came from our Screwfix, which is like a builder's supplier. So it's a sight light, and it's tiltable. So it's a really cheap light. And
not straight at the camera, please.
Yeah, sorry, not straight at the camera. And you can tilt it around. And then Ben made this lovely lamp stand, so that's what I tend to use, because we did buy a really expensive artist's light, and it's completely rubbish compared to the very, very cheap sight light. Right, okay, so Alice is asking about removing a bench hook. Amanda stayed up until 8:50. Amanda, I know exactly how you feel, because like 9 o'clock's my bedtime. So, and I'm always really excited after these live streams. So I find it takes me ages. I feel like an actress, you know. It takes me ages to kind of wind down, darling, after these live streams.
Alice, if you want to take the bench hook off your registration device, then just cut it off with a saw if you've got one. And if you don't have a saw, then you can, if you do it repeatedly, cut it off with a box cutter.
Yeah, so it's a slow job, but it can be done. We have a last print to give away. So this is like the nighttime print, and this is going to the person up at the crappiest time of night to see this. And I'm kind of hoping that my brother-in-law Simon is responsible for looking through and finding that person. So Simon, it's your time to shine and tell us who's won that. So we'll have to wait for him to say. Where are we? Right, so Rin says that when you're cutting the mapped out blocks, are you just cutting out the outside line of every different colour block, like puzzle pieces? I tend to go towards just on the outside of the line, and that gives me a bit of breathing space so that I can tilt things a little bit. So that's pretty helpful. Where's your brother? You should be telling us.
I don't know.
Here we are. Oh,
Jenny
Bourne. Jenny, you are the winner.
You have to tell us what time it is where you are.
Yeah, tell us what time it is. So Simon, you have to tell us where Jenny is if she doesn't come and tell us. So Jenny, if you email me at laura@lauraboswell.co.uk, I will send you this print to make up for the fact that you have been watching at a terribly antisocial hour. Nika says, do I plan my prints on paper only, or do you use any graphic apps to plan your individual layers? No, I only work with pencil on paper because I find it's kind of harder to use apps. I'm useless at stuff like that, and it kind of, for me, it kills everything. So I am a terrific scribbler on paper.
She got up at 5:15 this morning.
Oh my goodness, Jenny! So you have been up.
Well done, you.
So well done, you. You win the nighttime print, and I will send that. So everybody who's won prints tonight, congratulations, and I will send them to you all. And I think we are coming up to time. Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's not the last live stream that we'll ever do. I'm sure they will be back soon, but I have to write this book, which I've been not doing. So we'll be around. So we will certainly be making more films. I will certainly tell you when I start having classes available online. And we'll be doing stuff like live feeds and stuff. So thank you so much, everybody. You've been brilliant, and it has so helped me during this crappy period with COVID to have you guys there to talk to, and it's been really exciting having you in the studio as well. So thank you very much for that, and we will catch you again soon. So I think you have to press the button.
I have to put what we've done, have we?
Oh, Jenny. Humidity in the studio. Yeah, you need it humid for printing. Rainy days are good printing days. So do try and keep it humid if you can in the studio. I mean, even to the extent of maybe having a bowl of water if it's on.
Cheerio, everybody.
Yeah, we will see you again. See you again soon.
Yeah, keep talking, love, because
right, it's going to take him ages.
I haven't figured out how to switch it off yet. Right, 3